to a very special episode of Loose Links, as it's a Sunday special, as we could not go by without discussing what has happened via government and free school meals for half term. This is an episode based on the big shout out for businesses that are stepping up where the government has failed. So we are here to talk about them and to shine a light on them and to help you know where there is help in your area for this week. So joining me on this very difficult subject is Suzanne Paul.
Hello.
Mike Curtis. And
Hi.
Vicky Pearson. And keeping them all in line is me, Nicholas James. All that and a lot more on today's sharp episode of Loose Links. Good evening, panel. Good evening. I'm so used to saying good evening, and we're at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Good afternoon, panel. How are you doing?
Hi. You're doing good.
Can I just start there? We've thrown somebody in at the deep end. She hasn't even been a panellist yet, and we've thrown her in at the deep end. Can we welcome Suzanne Paul to the Loose Links family? This is her first episode on Loose Links. She works behind the scenes promoting us as well, so she's part of behind the scenes team, but she's finally dared to face the camera and to share her view on stuff. So, panel, good evening. Welcome, Suzanne. Welcome to the family. So we're here today really to talk about the government saying what they are saying about free school meals and what businesses have done to step up where maybe some people think the government has failed. So, my question to you, can I just remind before we start that this is not a political show. We are not politicians. We are four people with four views, and that's it. You can agree to disagree, but we're here really to shout out for the people that have stepped up. So, panel, my first question to you today is, what do you think about the government ending free school meals for half term?
I personally think it's going to hit a lot of families. I think during the 6 weeks summer holidays, it was brilliant for the families because already, people were only earning 80% of their wages. So I thought it was great in the summer holidays. I think since the summer holidays and we're now moving on, we're still in this situation. More people have lost jobs and they're going to continue to lose jobs. So I think it's going to really, really hit hard to some families, especially families who are in poverty.
Yeah, I think another thing people that I think don't realise is with universal credit, they change the amount of children you can actually get funding for. So there are going to be people who may have 3-4 children who've lost their jobs and can only actually claim benefits for 2. So you're going to end up with bigger families that are going to, have lost their income and lost their support and are not having any additional income or support for those extra children. And I know I've seen a lot of people saying, people shouldn't have children if they can't afford to pay for it. But I mean, no one knows what life's going to bring. I mean, I'm prime example. I had a car accident and it completely changed my life, and threw me into a completely different way of living. Like, you can't predict what the future's going to bring. And, there's so many different people in so many different situations who are all struggling now. I think this is a real time that we should come together as a country, and the government should come together, and we should all, like the whole Blitz spirit that everyone keeps harping on about, like everyone come together and everyone should support each other, and the government should be part of that, not against that.
Yeah, and I think it's really difficult, isn't it, Vicky, because what we presume, there's lots of conversations and opinions being shared at the moment, and you see it all over social media around, people misuse universal credit and people misuse their funding, and when there were the free school meals, that people weren't going to school to access the meals. But actually what we forget about here is these meals are not necessarily about the adults, it's about the children, and the children are innocent, completely innocent in this factor. They can't fend for themselves, they can't work, they can't go out, they depend on meals. And I think it's quite heartbreaking, really, because we come away from the fact, this topic anyway, of looking at innocence. And that's what it's about. That's the baseline. And actually, there are a lot of families out there that, you know, it's more than just the poverty bracket. It's about families that can't access resources, even families that can access it and they've unfortunately fell into this bracket because of COVID. You've just hit the nail on the head. We can't control the future, can we? And these poor children, as a result of that, may not be able to eat. And I think that's quite alarming. And I think that we come away from that you speak about a blitz vibe. I don't see that at all. No. I think the second wave, I think humanity has just become exceptionally selfish. You know, help thy neighbour. That's not happening in any of our communities at the moment, and it's quite sad. And I'm not saying that people aren't doing the bit. And, you know, I know that there are companies, etc., that have come forward to help some of these families, but we're talking about children. We're talking about babies, 5, 6, 7-year-olds that need to eat, and they're going to be deprived that. I can't even comprehend it. I can't comprehend the matter. I find it that difficult to talk about.
I've said before we started recording, I'm just disgusted. I can't even bear to talk about it, really, but that's what we're here to do. I just find from the very beginning that it was children that was almost the guinea pigs of coming out of lockdown, and let's send the children back to school first, and let's do this, let's start that up. That's how we can start the economy up. And children have been very frontline all the time throughout this pandemic. But then when it comes to helping them, we're all right furloughing people, and government are happy to give schemes to furlough so people can stay at home. We're all right to do that, but we're not all right to feed people. Mm-hmm. We're not. The government have decided, no, we're not going to feed kids. They'll have to survive. And what I've said from the very beginning, including COVID and including everything, is that I think it's people in power and money that are sat at the top going, no, we won't give any money for free school meals. But if that affected one of their children or a family member that they knew or a cousin, or I think there'll be a very, very different topic and discussion and views on how, and it's always the same in it with politicians, I find, and I don't want to talk too politically, but with politicians that they make all these decisions and all these, but they don't really go out and see the people. They don't go, I just need a view on this, I just need to see how somebody's living. They'll make a decision and that's it. And down to that, we're letting children go hungry. And I feel like we're in Africa, or we're somewhere like that's derived of money and food and water, and we're doing that to our children in a country where we are quite well off for money. Okay, we're not in a fantastic state of mind, but what we'll do is we'll keep people furloughed and we'll carry on that system, but we'll let children go hungry. How does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, I feel we shouldn't we aspire as a country to want to do better? Do we not feel that as a country, the United Kingdom is good enough that we shouldn't be in this situation and we shouldn't have children going hungry? It's not about punishing people that we think, you know, are in a different lifestyle or a different class. I don't understand that anyway, but I feel that's the vibe I'm getting from a lot of comments that I'm reading, is that people think that certain sections of the population are not worthy of certain support. You know, we've got Eat Out to Help Out going on, but we can't feed the poorest children, which is just so hypocritical, because the people who are doing the Eat Out to Help Out didn't need that. They weren't starving, you know, whereas we've got this. Surely as a country, we should aspire to be good enough that we're not in this situation. And I think we're more than capable of doing it.
And there's a bit of a deeper subject here, Vicky, really, as well, because we keep on referring to the poor. And I think what we've got to understand is, yes, there is obviously clear links with deprivation and free school meals, but we also have some families that have no choice to be in that bracket, that need that. You know, families that, you know, are caring for children who, through no choice of their own, have taken them on to prevent them going into the care system, for example, you know, and they've maybe done their time at work and they're retired or they may be working 14, 15 hours a week, and because of the furlough system, because they're not seen as or because of the tiered system at the moment, sometimes fall into the bracket of not mandatory, needed for whatever reason. So then they get shut, and a lot of good people. I think there's like this I guess, and we have to be careful that we don't fall into this political battle of rich and poor, and this sort of view of looking down. Because actually, I think it's much more bigger than that. There's lots of families fall into this bracket at the moment. I looked after children, for example, that that are in foster families, etc., would thrive on these initiatives. And they've experienced enough in their life. Why would we put them through further trauma? I just cannot understand it. For the sake of 2 weeks, really, that's what we're talking about, aren't we? 2 weeks. Because then they're going to be back at school anyway.
I just find it. What do you think about what I said about? Because it's question 2, really. What do you think about what I said about the government? And do you think, as a United Kingdom government, we should be doing more equally for everybody, not just for certain sectors?
Yeah, I don't know whether I dare say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think that possibly, I looked at a couple of figures last night and I read a couple of reports. We've got how many MPs? 660, is it in the country?
Yeah.
About 660. And I think I read a report last night that 13 MPs had spent something like £16,000 each a year on expenses. So if you did your sums, I did a quick sum there. 660 MPs. Not saying that all of them spend that, but that would be £10,890,000 a year. And we've got 1.9 million children who have free school meals. So I think it worked out in the summer holidays at £15 per week. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was £90, wasn't it, over the 6 weeks summer holidays? So if it was £15 a week, 1.9 million children, that's 28 million. So that 10 million of expenses from the MPs is would pay a quarter, wouldn't it?
And
so
that isn't even the highest. I mean, Carl McCartney in his last year was over £100,000 in expenses in his last year before, I think it's 2017. And the sitting MPs are funded £80 million a year in food subsidies for their bar and for their restaurant. And that more than covers the free school meals, and surely in a time like this, they forgo that and say, okay, we've had this, but at this time, let's move that money and send it somewhere else. And, they're all, I don't know, I just feel that, a lot of them talk about they don't like red tape, but sometimes they sit behind red tape and ring fence money. And it's so frustrating, so frustrating.
Well, take that option away from them. Don't give them the option. Say, we've all had to sacrifice stuff, redundancies, furloughs, all of that throughout the last 6 months. So somewhere at the top, surely someone should be going, I'm really sorry, but we're sacrificing your expenses this year, because actually that money needs to go on something else. If we have to sacrifice down here, why aren't they sacrificing up there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they did it for the next 3 years, that would be brilliant, because that would cover that figure. But we didn't want to make it political, but I couldn't help it.
No, that's our little political bit out of the way. What do you think, Mike? What's your opinion on it? I can see you there, and the cogs are turning. What are you thinking?
I don't know, if I'm honest with you. I don't. I think at the moment it's so easy, isn't it, for everybody to just sit there behind a camera screen and have a view and opinion and express that. And I just think, yes, that we've got this funding attached to political representatives. I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I need to
fair enough. That's fair enough. This is where we turn to the good news of this free school meal, where I take my hat off and almost bow to businesses that have stepped up, even though they're in a time of crisis at the moment and the economy and money is just everywhere. They've let their hearts and souls out to make sure children are fed. So businesses and people have stepped up. Do you think now we are looking at one another more than we are looking at the top hierarchy?
I think so, yes. I think sometimes I feel proud to be British sometimes, because when communities get together and they help out, I find it very humbling. I was watching it on the news the other night, and yeah, it gets me every time. And I think people are stepping up and, you know, trying to help out because they realise the situation at the moment. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at like neighbouring authorities, so if you look at Liverpool, which I know is a little bit far, but still, obviously, they're in the tier 3 system. So again, you know, sort of going back to that that process and that impact that will have more on, you know, people that are maybe working in industries that aren't deemed as mandatory. The amount the city has done to sort of support children, it's just phenomenal. So, you know, there is, you are right, Susanna, you know, whilst I appreciate we come across quite negative today, you know, there is still a lot of good, isn't there, that is happening. But yeah, it is a shame that we have to depend on charity to do that, to feed our children. I think that's the baseline that I struggle with.
Yeah, totally understand that. Yeah, totally understand.
Where there's, you know, funding channels for other things that don't seem as necessary, you know, and I think, you know, but there's lots of things, isn't there, that's being sacrificed at the moment. You know, the arts industry is huge. Look at how that's impacted.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously our financial leader who provided his views on retraining, you know, we're just living through such a time where, if I'm honest with you, I think people have burnt out. I think people are burnt out, and I think people in power, people not in power, the man next door, the woman up the street, however you want to look at it, we're all burnt out, we're all tired, and we're starting to stop thinking rationally about this. And it goes back to a little bit what Vicky said, really, that sort of camaraderie that we all had at the start of this process seems to be dwindling. And I think if we can bring that back a little bit, I don't know how we do, that would put a lot of the fire out.
Well, it's what we've discussed in the show before, Mike. I think it's all about education and being educated in what we are doing. And as a person, I've given up watching, this is awful to say, but I've given up watching Boris's speeches and the discussions that he's having. For me, back it up with the science. I want to see what's going on. Stop hiding it. Stop going, we know what we're doing and this is the best way forward. Actually show us the stats. Show us what's going on. Tell us, be honest. Stop. It's almost like, I've worked for a company, and I won't say who, but I've worked for a company that we thrive on our, and this has been great, and this has been great, and this has been great, and this is fantastic. But nobody ever mentions, actually, we've gone wrong here and we've done something stupid here and we need to work on that. We're all about, all the time, trying to impress. And I'm sick to death of talking about, we won't go into it too much, but I'm sick to death of talking about face masks, to the point of, should I wear a face mask? Shouldn't I wear a face mask? I was in a shop the other day and saw somebody, quite happy to say this actually, saw somebody and they were not wearing a face mask, and I was like, oh, you're not wearing a mask? And she was like, no, I don't want to wear a mask. And what I want to scream out to, that if it was that your daughter in a hospital bed or your family member in a hospital bed dying, you would have a completely different view on a face mask, and it's not affecting me, so why should I do it? Same with COVID. The COVID situation, the conversations that I've had with people that have said, oh yeah, and in 6 months, so Boris has restricted us to 6 months, but after 6 months, we'll be back on track. Use common sense. Really, after 6 months, COVID's going to be gone, and there'll be another 6 months, and there'll be another 6 months.
Yeah.
And this will go. This is our lives from now on, and people need to be realistic and go, right, this is the state that we're in. And I'm not thinking, like, people are still thinking, oh, I'll still be able to get with my family at Christmas, I'll still be able to. I can almost guarantee that we won't see many people at Christmas. And that's for the safety of our lives. But what do you think about what I've just said? What do you think? Are you fed up of hearing Boris on the telly? Are you fed up of talking about face masks? Are you done with talking about COVID?
No, I'm a big fan of the news. I always, even as a teenager, I used to sit and watch the news. I've always been I need to know what's going on, and globally, not just nationally. Like, I've just always been interested, and I've stopped. I've completely stopped watching the news. I can't bear it because it's so frustrating. It gets me so angry and so annoyed with everything. And when we're blatantly being lied to, when there's double standards for everybody, when half the stuff, I don't understand why it makes sense. You know, you can go shopping, but you can't buy clothes in certain areas. You know, I mean, none of it makes sense to me at all. You know, and I find incredibly frustrating. Yeah, completely. And I've switched off from a lot of it. And I just think, I mean, I feel I have common sense, and I feel a lot of people don't necessarily, but I know I'm doing what I can, and that's the best I can do. I mean, going back to your last bit as well, I mean, I'm very, very lucky to live in an amazing community. It's a very small village. And we've all really come together. I mean, it has been really positive. I mean, I work with the church start off because I do web and graphic design as a business, and we've created some vouchers for free school meals so that all the children went to the school locally. Even though they had the government scheme, we actually gave them an additional amount of money per week to spend at the local co-op. And it was for food only, you know, and they got that, and we worked with them, and they picked them up from school, and the school administered them so they knew who got the vouchers. And then going on from that, they've actually expanded the scheme now to create a village food bank that's sponsored by the local butcher, by the local co-op. And those meals are actually delivered in line with the school to the families that were on free school meals for the whole family. And then anybody else that isn't on free school meals can then apply to have that service as well. And everyone's coming together with that. We had a group called Frontline Feeders that were creating meals. A couple of chefs came together. All the community, I donated food. Everyone just took food along, asked what do you need. You know, we need cream and pasta this week. So you go to the shop and buy them cream and pasta, and they'd send the meals to people who were nurses and who were in those frontline kind of jobs to make sure they had a hot meal to take with them to work when they were working long hours, you know. And I feel so lucky to live in a community like that, but I know that isn't the reality everywhere else. No. You know, and a lot of communities haven't got that resources. They're not a little village where everybody knows everybody and what time people leave for work and who's who, you know. And we need the government to kind of step up and look after everybody and understand everyone's in such different situations and different places, different backgrounds, you know, coming from all over. And I mean, there's a very famous saying that charity is the failing of society and government. And I really feel that encapsulates what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Vicky, I need to come have a bottle of wine with you. You've picked me right up.
You'd be welcome to.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Honestly, love. Honestly, it's really. I don't know about you, Suzanne, but Jesus, I'm sat here to myself. It's like an inspirational speech, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful. And where I live here, I live on the Holcombe Estate in Norfolk, and when it first hit.
There's not many people that can say that, Suzanne. I live on the Holcombe Estate. There's not many people that can say that.
They own the hotel, which is just outside of the estate, and of course that obviously had to shut. But what we did here, talking about a community, Vicky, they all got together at the Victoria Inn, and they made meals every day, and they were taken to King's Lynn Hospital for all the staff.
Wow!
And they did that. There's a young gentleman who lives just at the back of me here at Longlands. There's not many of us here, but he's a triathlon, and he also works at the Victoria Inn. So he was biking, and for every hour, I can't remember if it was every hour, every hour he did, I think it was, there was so many meals that were made by the chef at the hotel, and then they were transported across to all the nurses on the front line, which was just amazing. And he must have been absolutely exhausted. But, you know, he did it for a long period of time. I think it was over about 2 or 3 weeks. But
do you think, though, this is, let's try and put a bit of light on COVID then. Let's try and, instead of being dark and doom, do you thank COVID for community spirit?
I think it's brought out the best and the worst, to be honest. I really do. I feel like it's one or the other. And some places have been amazing. Some people have been amazing. It's made people question things more. It's made people think a little bit more about things. It's probably put people in situations they've never been in before. If they've never had to access the benefit system, it's maybe made them realise that not everybody is, you know, it's not a certain type of person that needs the support. Sometimes it's every kind of person. But on the flip side, there's some real venomous people about, and I have to stop. Like, I do not reply. I sometimes start writing things and I think no, because they're not there to listen. They're not there to have a positive or, you know, think in a different way. They're just, I think it's brought out the best and the worst, and I think often things like this do.
You know, Vicky, you're right. I mean, in a neighbouring authority, again, I like to use that term, rather than I can't be sort of attached to making specific comments about specific areas. But I was witnessing on social media the other day, and I thought, am I living in like a Twilight universe or something? The borough council actually arguing with the public over social media.
Yeah.
Professional representative, and it was the councillor formally replying, and it was sort of on occasion a bit like watching two school children arguing in the school playground. And I thought standards, I thought professionalism, I thought representation, I thought about leadership, and I just thought the world is going bonkers, because when we have that level of representative arguing with the British public around, you know, and it were borderline name calling one another. Well, he said that, I said this, and she said, and I just couldn't believe the narrative, and it was going on and on. And I thought it causes panic, because if our leadership isn't strong above us, then it provokes fear, doesn't it? Because they're not clear, so we're not clear. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%.
Alarmed. I just thought, I can't believe what I'm seeing. And like yourself, Vicky, I kept on, I had to really bite my tongue, because I thought I'll get myself into a lot of trouble here, because I wanted to say, you know, we're missing the point here. You know, we're missing the point behind what we're going through. You know, it's not about he said, she said, it's about survival, and it's about looking after one another and working through this terrible time, which hopefully at some point we can, maybe I'm a bit naive, sort of learn to live with, because I don't think we've quite sort of captured that, have we? You know, we seem to have been making progress and then gone backwards. And I know there's lots of factors why that is. But, you know, I just thought, when your own council is arguing with the public, it's just anarchy. It's anarchy, sorry. Anarchy. You know, it's just bonkers.
Well, the thing is, this show is to base the talk on what's been discussed about free school meals, but we are here to sing praises for the businesses that have stood up and are supporting the people. I was just about to say most in need, but not even also most in need, just in need for this next 2 weeks as we face what we're going through. So we are here to let you know that we are happy to advertise any business out there around Lincolnshire to support people in this free 2-week scheme. If you are a person doing food parcels at home, or if you are a business that are stepping up to support the children so they do not get hungry, please get in touch with us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram or Twitter, or Gmail, looselinks@gmail.com. Email us and we will make sure your businesses are put out. So we're calling this the Loose Big Shout Out. So we've been running around Lincolnshire like Billy O's the last 2 days. The behind the scenes team have been doing a lot, and we've got a couple of companies that we've already going to give a mention out to on supporting May Be Near You round the corner. Also, we want to talk about supporting individuals as well. So if you're too frightened to say that you need the hand of help, please message us directly and say, and tell us where you live, and we'll point you in the right direction where the support may be just around the corner from you. So please get in touch with us. But up to now, the big shout out that we've had, Gainsborough is our biggest at the moment. So in Gainsborough, the venue at Roses are supporting the scheme. The Lincolnshire Otter, Feeding Gainsborough, the Sugar Bun Fairy, Blayton's Ice Cream are all supporting the free school meal funds. So go to them. They are doing stuff for free. I think some places have a charge for an adult, some places don't, but every child eats free in every one of those companies. Lincoln Car Home Chippy are supporting the scheme. Also, now I'm going to spell a last name because I can't say it, but Paris, Cousses. How would you say that, team? How would you say that? Cousses.
Cousins of cousins.
Why laughing, Mike?
Because all in my head I'm going to be honest with you, maybe it's because it's Sunday, I'm thinking, get yourselves out there, kids, go get Fish and Chippy Friday and stuff what anybody thinks. Don't have any pride. If you can go get that Fish and Chippy, go get that Fish and Chippy. Get your send down to ice cream parlour. Make the most of it in this crap weather, I say.
Or Gemma Smith on Facebook are doing food parcels. So if you get in touch with them, they will send you a food parcel. Also, Mint Lane in Lincoln are covering the free for children to eat in the next 2 weeks. North Highcombe are Lincoln Green. They're supporting the 2-week scheme, and various Doug Egg Theatre Company are supporting it. So if you type in Doug Egg Theatre Company into Google, it will come up, and they are setting up a scheme. Yes, there was something that was going to be expanded on one of them because Vicky Pearson has been in touch with Mint Lane.
Yes.
Vicky, so please let us know what they've been saying to you.
Yes. Mint Lane are a service I think not a lot of people know about, and they're absolutely incredible. I discovered them 2 years ago. They've got a lot going on, and they similar to the drill hall had their funding completely taken away from the council, and they managed to self-fund and use community funding from service users, and they managed to get a match it lottery grant to keep going at the moment. Mint Lane is they're a trauma specialist and a mental health specialist. They offer counselling for various needs and requirements. It's donation rather than a fee, so depending on your income and your situation, they've got access there for mental health support. They've got groups that you can go and socialise if you're feeling isolated. There's various things going on at the minute, obviously with restrictions. Some of it's off, some of it's still running, but they've got a Mint Lane Cafe, and it's incredible. You could get a 3-course meal for £3.50. And they have Starbucks coffee there that's 50p a cup. Wow. They've got a shop there with all fresh vegetables. I've seen it, still got the dirt on from the allotment, and I'm assuming that's where it's come from. It might have come from a market stall. A lot of local businesses in Lincoln donate their end of life food, not gone off food, not inedible food, but food that's towards the end of the shelf life. They'll donate it to Mint Lane. I got 3 packs of really nice cheeses for £1. I've got a big jar of lemon curd from Stokes for 50p. You can get a whole load of vegetables for 20p, 30p. I mean, the prices are absolutely incredible, and they use that produce in their food to provide a 3-course meal for that £3.50, and it's all fresh. It's all real vegetables. It's everything that you need. And they've got, they do provisions for the homeless. They do so much. I mean, it's such an amazing community kind of thing that they've got going. It's on Mint Lane, which is near the nightclub Home, behind
do you know, I've never been.
really.
I've lived in Lincoln all my life and never.
Go and have a look. They've got so much going on, and it's an amazing place. And you can just pop in when the cafe's open. They've got a Facebook page. They've got a website. Go and have a look. And you know, if you are struggling, go and do a bit of a shop down there. You'll get all sorts of things for not even anywhere near close to cheap supermarket Lidl prices. Like, it's not even, it's more than half the price of
there are more shopping centres available.
Another shop completely, but I just mean it's an amazing resource. And you know, there's everyone, you know, if you're struggling, head down there, definitely, and support them as well.
Fantastic. So what we've decided to do on Facebook is we're going to create a post about areas and companies that are supporting, but we want to make it an ongoing post, so it will be edited throughout the week. So if you come to us saying we're a company and we're offering this, your company will be edited onto the list so people know how to get in touch and how to get out there. As I say though, if you are a person and you've looked on the list and it's nowhere near you in Lincolnshire, please get in touch, and we as the Loose Links team will work behind the scenes to professionally find help for you in your local area. So please stay in touch with us. My last question to your panel on this awkward conversation, thank you so much for daring to brave your view in front of the camera, but do you think there should be now a scheme, because this is fantastic what businesses are doing. My heart is lit up by it, and I'd rather go and support businesses than support the government at the moment. I really would. But businesses are putting themselves on a line in a time of struggle themselves. This isn't like businesses are well supported and stuff like that, and they're almost already lowering their income of what they're getting by giving this scheme, which is fantastic because it's more based on community than it is about money. But with the furlough scheme via the government, do you think there should be a scheme at the moment supporting businesses with extra money coming into them so they can offer more?
Personally, I think that the government should just fund children not going hungry. I think that no children should be going hungry. They shouldn't be I feel that if they sponsored businesses to do a job the government should be doing, I'd say that's a massive failing of government. And I see that with quite a few other things. I think they just need to sort it out, to be honest.
Sort yourself out. Or as Mike says, get yourself down to the chippy. Treat yourself. Sort yourself out, get yourself down to the chippy. Thank you for joining us on this very special Sunday edition of Loose Links. As I say, please get in touch, shout out to us if you are out there. We want to shine a light on businesses this week. This is the whole point of the show. So please get in touch with us and let us know how you are supporting your local town, village or city. That's it for tonight. I said tonight again. That's it for today. Some of us have got lunch arrangements that we need to disappear off, and so we're going to say goodbye to you here. Please join us on Tuesday for our main event show. I do need to pre-warn you that we've had one glimpse of her now, but on a week on Tuesday we have another glimpse of Suzanne Paul. And she comes back onto our screen for the Loose Links show. And it's a very exciting show. I'm going to prepare you now. We're doing a Halloween special. So that does mean a week on Tuesday that even though I hate it, and I really hate it, we will all be dressed up in Halloween. So I've already picked my outfit. I've asked Kerry Gillespie if I can borrow her face.
Or she'll kill you.
Just for the show, and she's agreed it, so absolutely fine. But join us this Tuesday, where hopefully Sue Craven, Dee Kelly and Sandra Overton will be on the panel discussing news and views around your area. But from the end of this week, and a big thank you to every business out there. Thank you for joining us this Sunday, and we'll see you on Tuesday night. Please thank my panel for this afternoon that have bravely stepped out and said what they think. Suzanne Paul, Mike Curtis and Vicky Pearson. See you on Tuesday night. Take care. Bye-bye.